Since we last spoke, Novak Djokovic won his 18th major at the Australian Open. He also has taken away a special record from Roger Federer. And of course, that's the weeks spent ranked number one in the world. It was 310 weeks to Roger Federer. That was the record. Now the record is Novak Djokovic, 311 weeks, and it's going to keep going and going. Who knows when it'll stop? Andy Murray put it really well when he said this pretty recently. You know, a lot of people were getting excited about how Medvedev really is the real deal of the next gen and looks like he could beat Djokovic at the Aussie Open. Remember that? Even I fell for that a little bit. Andy Murray said regarding that final at the Australian Open, I expected the final to be closer, to be honest. I also know how good Novak is in Melbourne. He was highly motivated. He played well. Before the match, Medvedev spoke about the pressure on Novak's shoulders. Still, those guys from the top have been dealing with immense pressure for their entire careers, and they know how to overcome it and play at their best when it matters the most. In my opinion, the younger players are not even close to them, the big three. Dominic Thiem did steal the U.S. Open crown, but if Novak hadn't put a ball through the lineswoman's throat, I think the outcome would be the same. Well, there you go. Andy Murray says it is indeed an asterisk U.S. Open for Dominic Thiem. That's a great quote for Andy Murray. So today's show, we'll talk about how significant is all of this for Novak Djokovic, his new record. Of course, we'll talk a lot about the Roger Federer return, and we'll also speculate on whether or not it is too late. Is it too late for Roger to come back and do anything to stop the inevitable, what so many people say is going to happen, Novak Djokovic definitively becoming the GOAT and taking over all of the records? I have one article here that is now possible with Djokovic winning so much lately and breaking this world number one record. This is from some guy named Douglas Perry at OregonLive.com. He said the headline is, Roger Federer's tennis records are being wiped away one by one. Does it matter? We'll talk about all that on today's show. But first, this is a public service announcement sponsored by Novak Djokovic and produced by Mr. Goat, the Talking Tennis Cat.
And your source is reliable.
Sure. Well, if you want to refute something, great.
Next question, please.
I would like to answer that, please. So,
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Joe, K to the OV. I see you know your favorite player from the big three. I guess my mission is to be GOAT. See, the only thing that can stop me is a throat yeet. Fake ass next year, put their feet to the fire. I'll be the king of Australia, world number one for hire. Never eat the pasta, that's a part of my game. I got the gluten-free diet, steady burning the flame. That's right, Joe. Not F-E-D, but similar to them letters. Rafa can't do it better. Beat the king of clay, I beat the king of grass. Don't make movies with Shakira, give a fuck about Carnas. Nikirios, blow me, you fucking obnoxious. I beat your ass in Australia, do you dirty like pocket knockers. Don't buy my trophies cause I love them too much. That's why I plan to win more, because I love it so much. Come on.
We talk about the mental side of it, but then like, what does that really mean? Like the thoughts that happen in your mind when you're going through a competitive situation. Are you able to negotiate your way out of, that little, voice telling you it's not that important? Or does that little voice get the best of you? I think that's what separates people who go on to do great things versus people who don't.
Kobe, don't lie. Strike it down like a black mamba, cause I'm just that type of guy. And if you want an Aussie Open, man, you best not try. I promise no one will ever stop me, cause it's just my psychology of a natural born killer. I knock them all dead like my name was Jared Stiller. That's the line, motherfucker, stick to it. I wear the crocodile, cause no one had to tell me to just do it. My game been resurrected like our Lord and Savior. Why women and trophies got my own engraver. When they ask me why it is that I'm truly the best, I say yes, sir, c'est moje, ne zabić, no da you get. Jokerole, to zagrole, is lube želi svi. Sinama I unama, come on, živiti. Jokerole, is the agrade, the truth will always be. Representing worldwide, such a te uvek pamtiti.
Huge pressure and expectations and the importance of that moment. And you're aware of that. You can't put it aside and say, okay, I'm going to ignore it. No, it becomes a part of you. It consumes you. If you are able to overcome that obstacle, to face that mix of doubts, fears, excitement, pressure or so forth, and if you are able to become one with it, and then it allows you to get to where you want to be.
Today on Coffee Break Tennis, it is good to be back. I apologize that it took so long to get that song and video up and out there. Kind of took a lot out of me, everything going on with my family. But we are back just in time for the return of Roger Federer. Of course, that article I talked about, Roger Federer's tennis records are being wiped away one by one. We'll definitely get to that later. Let me put that one right there for safe keeping. We've got some writers over at tennis.com who talked a bit about Novak Djokovic and his record at number one, the most weeks at number one, and what it took to get there, what it means. We'll definitely take a look at that. I think they made some really good points about what Djokovic has had to do to get here. You know, this definitely wasn't easy, and a lot of people didn't think it would happen. So major credit to Novak Djokovic and the Djokovic fans out there. We talk a lot about Roger Federer's match against Dirty Dan Evans. It's kind of funny. He'd been practicing with Dan Evans for a couple weeks, and then he draws him first up in Doha. We'll talk about that. We'll look at the draws from Doha and also where Medvedev and Tsitsipas are over in Marseille. We'll take a look at that draw as well. And really just got a lot of Federer and Djokovic stuff in today's show. But first, thank you for being here. I just wanted to say, again, I'm sorry that it took so long to get this. I put a lot of work. I mean, it was kind of worth the wait. I think it's a masterpiece. Let's just say that about my hip-hop extravaganza. Thanks to Jay-Z. Thank you, Mr. Z, for your contribution to the song. Of course, the producer, Mr. Goat, the Talking Tennis Cat, who has an affinity for hip-hop. So thank you to him. But my apologies for it taking so long. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I think I said, did I mention it? There was a death in my family, a very close family member, a big loss for everyone in my family, and it's been very hard. This family member got sick towards the end of the Australian Open, and what we thought would be, a day or two in the hospital turned into, a week or two, turned into moving to hospice and losing a very special member of my family. So it's been very hard for all of us, and anyways, I'm back at it now, so my apologies for not being here. It just it took a lot out of me and my entire family. And my heart goes out to you if you're one of the people who have gone through this during COVID. It's definitely different. You don't, even here in Georgia, you don't get to see your loved one in the hospital until it becomes obvious that your loved one might not make it, might not survive their trip to the hospital. Then they'll let small groups come in to visit. They do that here. They don't do that everywhere in the world. Some people don't get to say goodbye at all. If you're one of those people, my heart goes out to you very much so. It was a horrible thing to go through, and I'm just grateful that at least we got to visit at the very end. Anyway, so I wanted to let everyone know about that. I don't like to be super personal on the show. I think it takes away from what the show's about. We're here to have fun and talk about tennis, but I did want to let everyone know there was a reason why I kind of disappeared after Djokovic won the Australian Open. It is not because I hate Djokovic. The more this goes on, the more I support Djokovic. I don't want him to beat Federer's records at all, but when I see all the attacks from all over, the way everyone seems to be against Djokovic, part of me kind of wants him to succeed, to say, see, I told you so, I sure showed you, something like that. Anyway, so I wanted to, let's see, what do we got here? I wanted to go back to the Australian Open since it's so important, and it looks like it's starting something where Djokovic could easily get one more this year, if not two more, and tie. That's what a lot of people are feeling. Let's take a listen to a couple things. First and foremost, during the trophy presentation, I've never seen this happen before. There's been some moments where the finalist, the loser, the runner-up, and the winner have had some, nice exchanges with each other. Roger and Rafa come to mind, of course. But listen to this. This is pretty rare to me.
Just to tell you a small story, guys. First, I practiced with Novak when I was, I think, like 500 in the world or 600 in the world in Monaco, and so he was already number one, just won Wimbledon. And I thought, okay, he's not gonna speak to me or something because the guy was a god for me. And I came there, and because I was shy, so I didn't speak. So he was asking me questions, talking to me like a friend. I was really surprised, and it never changed since I was 600 in the world or 4 in the world. You're a great sport, great person, so congrats to you.
Medvedev was shy. He was a nobody. What did he say? He was 600 in the world, 500 in the world? I did write down one thing he said in that quote. He said, Djokovic treated me like this, with respect, nicely. From 600 in the world to number 4 in the world, you're a great sport. You're a great person, Medvedev said to Novak Djokovic. Have you ever seen that before, where the runner-up wants to let everyone know, despite what you heard, Djokovic, or the winner, despite what you heard, he's a great guy and he was really kind to me. I don't know who said this. A wise person once said that the best way to judge somebody's character is to see how do they treat somebody that literally has nothing to offer them. And Medvedev kind of fits that bill when he was, outside of the top 400 in the world. It's not like, this is a person who can't really do a whole lot for Djokovic other than give him a pretty good hit on that day when there's not a lot of top-ranked players around to hit with. So Djokovic being that kind to Medvedev, I think, says a lot about his character. A lot of things you can point to in the past. A lot of charitable work that Djokovic has done. Him generally being a nice guy. There are plenty of players on tour. I think there's a lot of evidence in the category of Djokovic being a pretty good person, despite how much you or somebody else might hate Novak Djokovic. And Medvedev, he had to bring it up again in the presser. Take a listen to this.
That was true, I come there also hearing stories in the media that Novak is not a nice guy and all this, and he was late. That's all. That's the only bad thing I remember, that he was late, and then he was super nice to me. And as I said, I was really shy, so I was like, staying, just playing some balls, trying not to miss for sure. Really stressed and playing the world number 1 and all this. And he was super nice. Nothing much to say. And after we had some other stories where he took me on a private jet to Serbia on Davis Cup. I was just 2 weeks in the top 100 or something like this. And yeah, he was always really nice to me. He helped me a lot, I would say, for my confidence in my career.
I heard stories in the media that Novak was not a nice guy. So Medvedev was naturally expecting Novak to be kind of mean to him. Then he was surprised to see Novak is super nice to him. Let me see. I got a couple more things from there. This is great, especially as the big 3 debate is really raging, especially with everyone was hot on Nadal after he wins the French, right? Djokovic is mentally out of it. Nadal smacks him at the French Open right after the U.S. Open debacle. And then, people are thinking Medvedev is going to beat Djokovic. Well, he crushes him. Now Federer has returned and looks pretty good considering that he's been gone so long. So the GOAT debate is heating up. But this one journalist at the Aussie Open in the final presser, tried to trick Medvedev into revealing which of the big 3 is the GOAT, basically. Take a listen for yourself.
He mentioned in his post-match speech that he thought you were one of the toughest players he's ever faced. I was wondering where you kind of rank him, perhaps compared to, Roger and Rafa. Do you view him as the hardest opponent you've ever faced?
I rank him in top 3 hardest opponents that I ever faced. I'm not joking. I mean, played all of them, and it feels like I think when they want to is not a good word. I'm sure they want to win every tournament also. But when they're in the zone, and I'm not shy to say it, I feel like they're just better tennis players, again, which shows facts and numbers, than the rest of us, if we can call like this. And for sure, when we are also in the zone, we can bring them big fight. We can win some matches, some maybe big titles. But it's just that the percentage is on their side, and yeah, I ranked these top 3 toughest opponents in my life.
Great response from Medvedev. He's one of the best 3 I've ever played, so he's not going to go there, and no one really can just yet. Even though so many people are saying Djokovic is pretty much already there, it's a fait accompli. He's going to get it within the next year or 2 at most, and this article I have back there is saying, surely all tennis experts agree that Federer will win no more majors. The way Federer looked today, you could see him potentially winning Wimbledon. It's possible, especially if somehow Djokovic went down and Federer didn't have to face him, because there might be a mental thing there after 2019, the way that Wimbledon ended. And then finally, last one for Danny Medvedev. It's just another example of a journalist with a really dumb question and a great response from Mr. Medvedev.
We were very pleased to hear of your special relationship with Novak, and I'm interested in hearing from you, whether do you believe that such current rivals could develop a relationship that could, let's say, assist a successor to such a great champion such as Novak? Do you think that Novak could be some kind of your mentor, perhaps?
I think that's a better question to him, because for sure, while he's still playing, I'm sure even if, as I said, he helps many guys and with some small advices. But for sure, while he still plays, I'm sure he's not going to be my mentor or anything, because just imagine I beat him in some final of a Grand Slam, and then he's sitting there and saying, well, why the hell did I teach him this, you know? After his career, I have no idea. I mean, if he can help me with something, I would be really happy, because, again, he's just an unbelievable tennis player.
Why the hell did I teach him that? Great stuff from Danny. Let's listen just a couple more things from the presser, from Djokovic's presser. They asked him, does all this criticism from the media hurt you, Novak? Or are you like a superhuman and it doesn't bother you, or something like that?
Yeah, of course it hurts. I mean, I'm a human being like yourself, like anybody else. I have emotions. I don't enjoy when somebody attacks me, and in the media openly and stuff. Of course, I cannot say I don't care about it or whatever, Of course it does. I have to be honest.
He's a regular person. What do you know? And then finally, just to show that Djokovic is a regular person, if you're skeptical and don't believe me, well, regular. He is a person. He is human. I should say that. When I say regular person, you don't think of someone who flies all over the world, who play in big tennis tournaments and has millions and millions of dollars. But you know what I mean. He's a human like us. He feels emotion, illustrated by this next sound clip. Take a listen.
You spoke before about, your schedule, perhaps missing family, etc. I'm wondering how hard it is for you to have been away from your family.
I have to try to use the most of my time on the road and make my absence from the home, valuable, and try to make a big success. Is the reason why I've traveled so far and for so long without seeing my kids and my wife. Of course I miss them. I mean, at times it rips my heart apart. I mean, to watch my kids, thankfully to technology, you can see them on FaceTime and everything, but not being close to them and being separated for a long time. So
anyways, let's move on. I think this is Joel Drucker and Steve Tignor over at tennis.com, and they talk all about what it means, Novak Djokovic getting this world #1 record. Quote, when Djokovic, I think this is from Steve Tignor, he said, when Djokovic began to rise in the rankings in 2006, he said right away he wanted to be the next #1 player in the world after Federer. I wasn't sure if that role suited him, though, because obviously he's capable on all surfaces, but he also was an emotional and sometimes volatile player, one who seemed like he might be prone to having lots of ups and downs over the course of a career. Just as important, he didn't have a serve that could bail him out of tricky situations, like the player who owned the weeks at #1 record at that time, Pete Sampras. This is a major point. Now, Djokovic's serve is really good now. It's gotten a lot better. He was the ace leader at the Australian Open this year. He had over 100 aces. That's phenomenal for Djokovic. But in the past, he didn't always have that. And a lot of his biggest wins, he didn't have the most reliable serve, and he found a way to win despite that. A lot of that is his return, and of course, his ground game, but also his attitude and his desire, his belief in himself, and his ability to face everyone. It's the world against Djokovic. It really does feel like that. He continues, Djokovic has to earn his wins the hard way by constructing rallies, making lots of balls, doing lots of running. Yeah, Djokovic. And sliding, too. And splits. Which only makes the fact that he has done it better than anyone else for 311 weeks that much more impressive. Then this is like some kind of weird thing tennis.com does, which is basically Tennis Channel's website, where they're going back and forth with two different tennis writers, Joel Drucker and Steve. So now Joel goes up next. He says, 10 years ago, it wasn't certain if that was going to happen. As 2010 ended, Djokovic was a man with 1 Grand Slam singles on his resume who'd spent the last several years ranked number 3 in the world. There were times I wondered if he was destined to always remain a step behind Federer and Nadal. But everything changed in 2011, save for a lacuna matata that affected Djokovic from mid-2016 to mid-2018. That's the elbow issues. And what happened during that time? Djokovic lost the serve. I think he did something where he switched the technique and was actually getting a lot of pop on it. But that doesn't help you if you can't get it in, and his accuracy was gone. He wasn't hitting spots anymore. Yeah, he hit it a little harder. Well, he was never a big power server anyways. So that's why Djokovic was losing a lot back then, was ironically, because of the serve being completely unreliable. Joel, do you see, so they're going back and forth, do you see Djokovic staying at or near the top for 4 or 5 more years? As much as I resist making predictions, says Joel Drucker, in this case, I'll say it's easy to imagine Djokovic staying ranked right up there for several more years. He'll turn 34 in May, but as the likes of Federer and Tom Brady have already shown us, sure did, the aging process in sports is very different than it once was. Certainly, Djokovic is fit and formidable enough to age quite well. One of Djokovic's most admirable qualities is his constant pursuit of improvement. This is another thing. It's not just the serve, the story of how Djokovic, the Serb, and his serve that is not the greatest of all time, may become greatest of all time when this is all said and done. Although, that one article I talked about earlier, I got to keep my picture of Djokovic and Federer on the screen. The article I talked about earlier, it does make a case for even if Djokovic is breaking all the Federer records, Federer might still kind of go down in history as the GOAT. You know, that'll kind of be the popular history that survives a long time from now, when we're all gone and people are looking back on this time period. Anyways, we'll get to that later. Djokovic's most admirable quality is the constant pursuit of improvement. Djokovic's great rise to the top and repeated slam victories was highlighted by a major shift in his diet that aided his fitness. Significant enhancements to his forehand, adding topspin, his backhand incorporating a slice, and building on his net game. And then they get to the serve. More recently, Djokovic added more variety and pace to his serve, an effort no doubt aided by his coach, serving El Maestro, Goran Ivanisevic. At the Australian Open last month, Djokovic hit more aces than anyone else, 103. Only Medvedev played as many matches in Melbourne as Djokovic. Oh, he's saying because other players with bigger serves, they would have out-aced Djokovic if they hadn't lost. Well, we don't care because they lost. No one cares about the stats of someone who lost in the third round or the round of 16. Anyways, the point remains, Djokovic knows that as he gets older, a better serve will help him win points more easily. Then there's the matter of the competition. Contenders like Dominic Thiem, Medvedev, Tsitsipas, Sasha Zverev are all trying to take high-grade offense to a new level. After all, they must if they're to topple their accomplished elders, beat the big three. Here's the question. How much better can those men get? No one knows this answer. This is still Joel Drucker. And this is interesting because, like I said, Andy Murray said it best. No one's really close, and I kind of agree. That's why I think Djokovic could beat Federer at Wimbledon. Nadal can't. And no one else really can. So if Federer is healthy, and he's playing better than he did today, he'll have to play a little better than today, although today was pretty great. I think he can win Wimbledon. You just need Djokovic to do what he does to stop that from happening, or Federer's own body letting him down. But he says, can they get better? Joel Drucker wants to know, can these next-gen guys get better in time to stop Djokovic soon, to stop any of these big three guys anytime soon? No one knows the answer, obviously. Heck, who had any idea how much better Federer was going to get after his first slam in 2003? Ditto for Nadal. Nadal won 4 straight Roland Garros titles, 05 to 08, but had yet to win a major anywhere else. Then over the next 3 years, he snapped up all the other big titles. As I mentioned, who could foresee the incredible strides Djokovic would take once 2011 began? As far as Djokovic goes, he has so much going for him. It begins with incredible technique, as efficient as anyone in tennis history. It is easy to hit those great Djokovic shots because they are perfect. The technique is perfect. It continues with his work ethic and grit in the heat of battle. The extra ribbon is his relentless desire to leave a major mark. I am looking forward to seeing more of that. And I am too. Even though I want Federer to win Wimbledon and to be the GOAT, I do enjoy watching Novak Djokovic say, oh, you guys hate me. This whole crowd here is cheering against me. After this match is over, I'm going to go to a press conference and the media is going to ask me loaded questions and try to make me look bad. It's pretty exhausting, and I enjoy seeing Djokovic stand up to all that and say, I'm going to succeed despite all of you. I think it's a very inspirational story for all of us, and I've enjoyed watching it, even if Federer is my favorite. Roger Federer is pleased with match sharpness after return win. I was very happy with how I was able to handle the tough moments, said Roger Federer. I didn't feel like my game started to wobble the more important the points gap. I think I was able to play how I wanted to play, so I think that's always a great sign and a great feeling to have. The one thing I would say that I noticed from Federer, he was obviously really good. He admitted in his on-court, these quotes are from his press conference after the match, off the court. But on court, Federer even admitted that he was pretty tired out there. And that's what I thought. There was a lot of shanks. Federer literally did everything that he does well, all the magic. He didn't hit a tweener, but he had drop shots, lots of backhand up the line winners, match point, backhand up the line. Take a look. I think this was also, this is the set point, winning the first set, backhand up the line winner. So pretty special. Federer looks pretty loose out there. Maybe that's why he was so aggressive with the backhand up the line. Even in rallies where he would hit a pretty heavy backhand topspin up the line ball to kind of get ahead in the rally to help construct a point. Not clean winners, but able to do a lot of damage off that side. Kind of reminds you of the Neo backhand people were talking about in 2017. So there is a certain looseness to Federer of having not a lot of expectations. I do have something in here, actually, that is Pierre Paganini, the fitness trainer that keeps Roger Federer's body going, basically. He does all the off-season training with him. He spoke a little bit about where Federer is, how this is different from the last one, so we'll look at that in a little bit. But the main point from that was saying that Federer is just win or lose. They just want to see, can he play, because it's all about Wimbledon. As I was saying back at the Australian Open, totally makes sense. You get a real shot to win there if you're Roger. You're looking at these next-gen guys. They're getting a lot better, but mainly on hard courts. On clay, you can still count on Nadal to beat everyone and Dominic Thiem. And on grass, you really can't count on those next-gen guys to do anything there after what we saw, at least in the last season, 2019, when we had grass court tournaments. They'll probably do better, but still, if you're Federer, you got to look at that and say, all right, there's really only one person in the world, and his name is Novak Djokovic, who even really has a chance to beat me if I'm having a good day at Wimbledon. So they just wanted to see how would the body react to playing a match today. Obviously, Federer's a little tired, but he came up with great stuff under pressure. Dan Evans even said that Federer was basically under big pressure. He was so aggressive that it kind of shocked Dan Evans that Federer would get so aggressive at such big moments. And that's definitely a major factor. When you feel like you have your opponent beat and then they come up with some incredible shot and just like blow a winner right by you, it's hard to keep bringing it and go for the win after you see that happen. And Dan Evans, he sounded, even though he's been practicing with Federer so much, he almost sounded a little bit surprised by that. So they just wanted to see how his body will react. They're planning on getting fitter and fitter for Wimbledon. And it went pretty well today, obviously. In practice, it doesn't matter if you miss a backhand down the line, says Roger Federer, being down break point. But here it matters a lot, obviously. You're going to lose usually if he gets broken at, 3-all in that second set, he probably would have lost. I think not serving any double faults in my first match back over 2 hours and 20 minutes, over 400 days, plays a match 2.5 hours, just about 0 double faults. I think that's a sign that the knee is doing really well on the serve, which I think is absolutely crucial. And it really is. If one of the things they're worried about with the knee is landing, is getting enough boost from the ground up when you get into that position and you jump up into the air and smack the serve. They're worried about the knee holding up from serves. For Federer to say that he didn't really lose any juice on the serve, didn't have any double faults, and the knee felt good for 2.5 hours, that is absolutely a great sign. I will say one thing about the Federer serve. It did seem like he never really hit anything faster than like 115, 114. You saw 171 kilometers was a number I saw a lot on Federer's serve today. So maybe he's not going for quite as much, but he doesn't really need it. He talked about how they were practicing on a faster court. It was a lot faster than Rotterdam was. Oh my God, that was really slow. Sasha Zverev was actually complaining, saying that he might not come back to Rotterdam ever again if they don't speed up those courts or get a new ball. Apparently that ball is very dead, low bouncing, not much life to it as well, which the Australian Open changed their ball. That was a big deal this year. I was really excited and happy with the way I played. Dan was a tough first round, Dirty Dan, I thought, says Roger. But the good thing was I practiced with him past couple of weeks, so I really knew what to expect. It's just that when we were practicing, the court was faster in the past. This was slower, even though it was a lot faster than Rotterdam. It's still slower than where Federer likes to practice. I knew it could be a little tricky working out how to construct the point against him on a slower court, but look, it felt great to be out there again, regardless of the outcome. Losing in straight sets, winning in straight sets, winning in three, it's going to give me a lot of answers. It'll be interesting to see how I'm going to feel tomorrow. That's really the big question. Watch Federer very closely tomorrow. How does he recover? Does he play okay tomorrow, or does he look a little more tired? He did look a little tired. He shanked a lot of balls today, still wins despite it. And with all the shanks and some of the shots he missed, to me, it looked like either he hadn't felt the pressure of playing a match in front of a crowd, and for socially distancing, they had a pretty big crowd there, actually. There were some times where it looked like Federer was either a little tired or a little nervous or a mix of both on some of those shanks and shots like that. But still, to come up, that's why he's Roger Federer. The biggest moments of pressure in that match, Federer absolutely went for it, and that's what makes him so special, that and a few other things as well. It'll be interesting to see how I'm going to feel tomorrow, but right now I feel pretty good, so I'm really pleased. I'm incredibly grateful that I was able to play on my return in front of somebody, and the fans were good. He's grateful that he didn't have a social distance, a no fans allowed tournament. They were into it in the tiebreak. They were really getting into it. After a while, I don't even feel anymore that there were less people than normal in the stadium because you're in the zone, and it went very well. I'm very appreciative for everybody who came out. Yeah, the crowd was, they were jacked. They were pumped. It was pretty awesome. Let's take a look ahead at the draw. What does Federer have coming up? Well, that's Basilashvili, which is not showing any of the secondary courts at Doha. So I actually haven't seen either of Basilashvili's matches. Malek Jaziri is, I watched him beat Gombosh, Norbert Gombosh, and he was actually, looking pretty good considering that guy hasn't won in a long time. But Basilashvili got him pretty good, 6-2, 6-2. He also beat John Millman in 3 sets. But Basilashvili hasn't hardly won at all until now. It's been a while for him. So this is a pretty good draw for Roger. Basilashvili's got a pretty big game, but Roger will probably like all that pace and being able to redirect it. Basilashvili's not going to do all the tricky, dirty stuff like Dirty Dan Evans and Federer himself like to do. So I like Federer's chances if he recovers to come through there. Then he'll likely get Fritz or Shapovalov, or he'll definitely get one of those two if he can beat Basilashvili. Again, couldn't see Shapo today or Fritz because they didn't play on the main court. I haven't seen them play here yet, so it's hard to predict, but I think Federer will be okay with either one of those guys. Top half of the draw is a lot tougher. Dominic Thiem was winning against Karatsev this morning in the first set tiebreak. Pretty easy. I can't remember what his lead was, but then Karatsev totally turned it around. Didn't look... I'll have to play it another time maybe, but there was a great moment after Karatsev's first match against some guy who's not even ranked at all. He has no world... He used to be ranked like 1,200 in the world before, and they asked him a question. It was a classic response. We'll do that in the next show, I promise. I don't want to get lost on that today, but Karatsev, apparently they asked him at the end of that presser that I'm talking about, they said, how do you feel? The guy who does these interviews is great. How do you feel, Mr. Aslan Karatsev, to know that you will get your chance to take on U.S. Open champion Dominic Thiem next? And Karatsev, in his fashion, just kind of went, I will be ready. I will be prepared to face him. I am prepared. Next question. No more questions, please. That's Karatsev's kind of attitude, So he got Dominic Thiem. He wins that first set, 7-6 in the tiebreaker. Then Dominic Thiem kind of takes over, and it wasn't really the same after that. There was a lot of moments, though, and Karatsev probably should be happy with this result. He came there. He got a win. He had a really good showing, took a set off of Dominic Thiem. Dominic Thiem will play Roberto Bautista Agut, who took down Bublik, and who also took down Riley Opelka. That was a little crazier of a match in 3 sets. Bautista Agut got him. Some of the returns Bautista Agut hit were pretty insane, but we know what he's capable of. I wouldn't be surprised if he could find a way to beat Dominic Thiem here on this court. It's not a super slow court. It's not a super fast court. It's kind of a medium court, but it's in Doha. The weather conditions are a little on the faster side, especially if you play earlier. If Federer plays tomorrow, I'm sure the schedule's out. I don't have it, so sorry, I can't tell you. If Federer plays in the evening against Basilashvili, conditions will be a lot slower. You wonder who that would favor, Federer or Basilashvili. Might hurt Basilashvili. He'd like the ball to be exploding with the big ball that he hits. Rublev, who hasn't played a match here yet and just won in Rotterdam, was very impressive there. He gets a walkover against Richard Gasquet. He'll play Marty Fucsovics. I've been watching Fucsovics a lot. This is a rematch. They just played in I think it was the final, right, of Rotterdam. Fucsovics and Rublev. Fucsovics has been getting better and better every year. He's got big goals. His goal is to be a top 10 player. I think he actually could do it. The only problem is, like, who's he going to take out? Who is going to fall out of the top 10 with all this talent we have right now for Fucsovics? I think Fucsovics can definitely get close, though, if he doesn't get to a top 10. Lloyd Harris was playing excellent today, and Fucsovics found a way to turn it around. Fucsovics looked like he was out of it mentally at times in the first and second set, but he turned it around. He wins the third set 6-2. He gets Rublev. This is a better court for Fucsovics, I think. It's hard to say because Rublev is going to be able to blow you off of a slow court or a fast court. I mean, Rotterdam was so slow. You know, Zverev is complaining they'll never go there again, but it's weird. You know, it's all about matchups, and sometimes the slow court helps the big hitter. Zverev hits really big, but Zverev's super tall, and that court was bouncing very low. So maybe that was part of the problem for him. With Rublev, it seemed like no one could hit a ball past him in Rotterdam, whereas he could easily hit forehands past people. So here, Fucsovics will have a little more, you know, from his ball on this court. This is playing a little faster than Rotterdam, of course, but it'll be tougher to defend against Rublev on this court. Can he unsettle him on this somewhat faster court? Watch that match. That should be a good match. Winner probably gets Roberto Bautista Agut. I could see Federer facing Rublev in the final here, or Fucsovics, or Roberto Bautista Agut. And hell, let's just name all four of those people. I could see him facing any of the four quarterfinalists from the top half in the final. Dominic Thiem. You don't want to count out Dominic Thiem. Anyways, that's your draw there. Let's look at Marseille. Tsitsipas, Medvedev, who else? Some others. Those are the guys who haven't played, the big names. Basically, Tsitsipas and Medvedev haven't played yet. Tsitsipas plays Luka Pouille. Danny Medvedev gets Igor Gerasimov, the big Belarusian. Yannick Sinner has looked pretty good to me here. He just blew away the little guy, Gaston, Hugo, I think his name is Hugo Gaston. The guy hit a bunch of drop shots against Dominic Thiem. Sinner took him out easy. Sinner had a tougher match against this guy, Gregoire Barrera, French guy, big serve, big forehand. Sinner, they were talking about how Sinner suffered a back injury towards the end of the Australian Open, and maybe that was still bothering him. But he's pretty tough. He is the chosen one, the golden child to me, so no surprise to see Sinner come through there. I would really like to see Medvedev and Yannick Sinner play in France. Kachanov and Ebden below that in that quarterfinal. Bottom half, we're going to see Davidovich Fokina, who's pretty fun to watch. If he can come through, he'll play Ugo Humbert, who took care of Joe Wilfried Tsonga. For Tsonga, to me, it's just he's not moving well enough, but good for him to be back. I watched him. Humbert moves a lot better. In Tsonga, he could out-hit him, but he wasn't really hitting big enough in that match. He started to when he realized that he was losing control. But the movement was a big difference there. It's important in this sport. Federer's movement was pretty good, by the way, if you're one of those people worried about his movement. He looked pretty quick to me still. Maybe he's a little bit slower, but hard to see it. He was moving pretty well. Herbert, Cam Norrie, Pouille, Tsitsipas at the bottom. So would love to see Medvedev and Yannick Sinner match up there. Would love to see Tsitsipas facing in the final. Would love to see Ugo Humbert and Tsitsipas also. But would love to see Tsitsipas in the final there against Sinner or Medvedev, or even a rematch against Kachanov. I think they just played in Rotterdam recently. All right, a couple more things, and then we'll get out of here. We'll talk about Federer a little bit. Talked a lot about Djokovic today. Much respect to Djokovic and the Djokovic fans out there. I still like Federer to somehow find a way to win one more major. Will it be enough to hang on to the majors records? Maybe it won't, but if he does it, it's going to be hard to argue that he isn't the GOAT. So let me go to this one article. And you know what? on the next show, because I don't want the show to be like freaking hours and hours and hours, on the next show, we'll look at some of that stuff, talking about Federer's knee, what his trainer is saying about his recovery. It's been very secret, but now they let out a little bit of information, mostly in the Swiss press. We'll do that on the next show, I promise. I have it there. I have a bunch of good stuff there we'll talk about next time. But let's look at this, because this is that article that made me upset, but it also has some really good points in it. Federer's tennis records are being wiped away one by one. Does it matter? OregonLive.com. I don't know what that is. It was from the Oregonian. That's what it is. Written by a feller named some bloke called Douglas Perry. Roger Federer is systematically being erased from the record books. See why this guy upset me quite a bit when I read this. The Swiss legend set the all-time record for major singles titles in 2009 when he surpassed Sampras with 15. God, it seems like forever ago. Now he's tied with Rafa at 20. Djokovic just won his 18th. Federer will turn 40 this year. Has missed the past 12 months with injuries. It appears unlikely that he'll win more Grand Slam events. Nadal, more than 4 years younger than the Swiss, and Djokovic, more than 5 years younger, remain at the top of the game, are pushing forward with great determination. This week, Djokovic tied Federer for the most weeks ever at ATP World number 1. Next week, needless to say, the Serb's going to set a new record, blah, blah, blah. And Nadal and Djokovic both lead Federer in Masters tournament titles. Okay, it's a lot of stuff. Federer has 103 ATP singles championships overall, but he doesn't have as many as Jimmy Connors, and he's saying at age 40, winning 6 more to tie and 7 more titles to beat Jimmy Connors is asking a lot. But this is where this article is a little more interesting for me. It doesn't mean that it's the be-all, end-all. Babe Ruth no longer holds the single-season home run record or career home run record. 2 biggest records in baseball, 2 of the biggest. Babe Ruth doesn't have those records. He's been passed by at least one, or I think multiple people have passed him. But his hold on the public consciousness as the Sultan of Swat, the Bambino, the exemplar of baseball power, continues more than 70 years after his death. Good point there. You better believe, Roger, the legend of Federer will go on forever, no matter. Now, I'm not saying that means he's GOAT, even if Djokovic has 25 majors. I'm going to say Djokovic is the GOAT. I'll give it to him. Babe Ruth set the standard. He created the power-hitting role in the game. It's also because he was larger than life. His personality, attendant celebrity, as much as his swing, made him great. Will Federer exert the same hold on us down through the decades? There's a good reason to believe the answer is yes, and I tend to agree there. I think the legend of Federer will always go on, and he gives you a couple reasons here in this article, Mr. Whatever his name is. After all, Federer's won the Tour Sportsmanship Award more than a dozen times. He's won the Fan Favorite Award like every year in a row for like 20 years or something crazy like that. His unique combination of giddy child and suave fashionista has earned him many fans. God, the wordy language of some of these articles. Also, more important, he created what the late David Foster Wallace, which I got to say, I'm getting a little tired of quoting that guy all the time, although it was, he wrote this like 15 years ago now. In 2006, he famously labeled Federer moments. Impossible movement, shot making that leaves even the most discerning tennis fans staring with novelty shop eyeballs. Of course, the exploits of Nadal and Djokovic, and with lesser frequency, Andy Murray, Stan Wawrinka, Monfils, Dimitrov, Dominic Thiem, they make fans spit up their sodas in amazement too. But there's still Federer moments. Whether consciously or not, these younger men learned from the Swiss, the first maestro of the mega racket super strings era. It's a good point. Federer kind of invented that magic, and no one does it as much as him. And Djokovic, I think he produces a lot of magic. Those sliding splits where he hits a backhand pass, it's incredible. It's magic. It's a Federer moment. It's what did that guy say, David Foster Wallace? It's tennis as religious experience. It can be like that with Novak Djokovic. But Federer definitely created that and does it more than anyone. Even today in that match with Dan Evans, there was so much magic. Federer did a little bit of everything that makes him special in this one match. For years, the debate has gripped the big three watchers, has been which player will ultimately become the GOAT. We now know at the beginning of 2021 that it's increasingly less likely to be Roger Federer. Djokovic is the dominant player, blah, 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 blah. Federer fans will have to accept this. The numbers, and in many ways our own eyes, offer strong evidence that Djokovic and Nadal are the greatest players of this muscular, slow courts era. That's a whole nother debate, but that'll be something people talk about when they debate this for years to come. Federer's two rivals might not be able to reach his highest highs, but they also never fall to his lows. When the Swiss is off, he shanks balls into the seats, something Nadal and Djokovic almost never do. But Federer's millions of supporters don't have to rage against the stats. They should keep in mind how Babe Ruth's Baseball Hall of Fame entry opens. quoting the Hall of Fame of baseball on Babe Ruth. The Bambino was more than just numbers, especially those who knew him. Like former teammate Joe Dugan, who once said, to understand him, you had to understand this. He wasn't human. Federer's Tennis Hall of Fame plaque, no doubt, will say something similar. Hit the music. So I was mad at the guy, but we'll give him some credit because he made a great point. Federer is going to go down as this legend, the maestro, all of the magic that he does, and he still has a chance to grab one more. And who knows, maybe it'll be enough to hold on, or maybe we'll get what I've always kind of secretly wanted, a three-way tie, all three GOATs. Three GOATs with 21 majors apiece. I think that would be something special. But finally, I'll give this to you. Unbreakable Roger Federer record that Rafa and Djokovic will never break. This is from essentiallysports.com from Bavishia Mittal. Federer has accumulated several records. As tennis has moved forward, the records have been bettered and broken. However, during his dominant period from 04 to 09, Federer set a record that no one could ever touch in the future. Federer won 5 consecutive titles at 2 separate Grand Slams. That's right, he won Wimbledon 5 times in a row, 2003 to 2007, and he won the U.S. Open 5 times in a row from 04 to 08. Suck on that. You'll never beat that record. Is there anything else in here? I guess I'll hang on to that for next time. Thanks for watching the show and being patient. I put a lot of work into that song, but I have to thank Mr. Goat and Mr. Z for all of their help. We will be back either this weekend or on Monday to talk more about Roger Federer and Doha and everything else that is happening on the ATP Tour. See ya!